Hello, friend. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the feat Sentinel.
Ching! Step, step. I'm a sentinel at the gates of some important city, holding the fort from enemy intruding orcs or something.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, listen, painting a real rich picture here. So this is a feat from the player's handbook. It says you have master techniques to take advantage of every drop in an enemy's guard, gaining the following benefits. When you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, that creature's speed becomes 0 for the rest of the turn. Creatures provoke opportunity attacks from you even if they take the disengage action before they leave your reach. And whenever a creature makes an attack against a target other than you, and the target doesn't have this feat, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against the attacking creature, which notably is not an opportunity attack for what that's worth. It technically is different. Will it matter most of the time? No, but it technically is different, and I figured that's a good thing to bring.
Well, it matters if you're trying to take advantage of the benefits of
reducing
the
its
speed that what?
Reducing its speed to 0.
Right.
So
yes.
The top opportunity attacks are good, just because like reactions are good, and they're a little bit tricky to get a lot of use out of. This I can't really talk about this without talking also about Polearm Master, because these two kind of go hand in hand as doing a specific thing. So Polearm Master is a feat that it says whenever you take the attack action with the glaive, you get a bonus action attack. That doesn't really matter. What matters is while you're wielding one of these polearms, other creatures provoke attacks opportunity from you when they enter your reach with the reach weapon. So with Sentinel, what that does is it says, I have a 10-foot reach. If anything comes within 10 feet of me, I stop it, and it is now outside of its ability range to hit me, and it can no longer move. And that combination means if any melee creature that has a reach of 5 feet or doesn't have a reach of 10 feet or longer, you can stop all of them one of them around from getting on top of you and being able to make attack rolls at all, which is really good. That's the whole synergy combo here that you sort of build together when you're making towards Sentinel. On its own, what do you think? Let's say we don't have Polearm Master, we just have Sentinel. What's your read on this?
All right. We can do both because
sure.
I think more often than not, if you have Sentinel, you are in the market for Polearm Master. But usually. Sentinel on its own, it's a banger. And I don't know. It's something I like. It's one of those things where like I envision how cool it's going to be when I use it, and then maybe in actual play it lets me down. But I don't think so. It's going to depend on how good you are at enabling circumstances where you're going to get more opportunity attacks.
Yeah, which I think this leads it to like two kinds of play patterns that this wants to be with. This wants to be either making space around you so dangerous things want to move away from you. That is a way that you can provoke attack opportunity, right? So like you engage something, if something stays next to you, is taking a truckload of damage for some reason, that gives it an incentive to try and leave, and you go, no, thank you. You're staying right there. And then you opportunity attack it, and it's locked in place. The other option is taking advantage of the last line of text, which means you really want to have other threatening melee allies that are taking attacks instead of you that you can punish. And then these are two kind of different fantasies, right? Because the first one, you might want to be standing directly next to a wall of fire, and that's going to make it a little bit harder for things not standing in that or standing next to you to not be taking damage from said wall of fire. Or, there are more issues with things getting attacked that you're defending if you're trying to make a threatening space around you. Whereas the other option is, I don't want to be the most threatening thing. I want the barbarian to be taking attacks, and I will be punishing the attacks the barbarian takes. And that dichotomy, I think, leaves this to be really interesting to build around in a couple different directions, which I'm a fan of. And opportunity attacks are powerful enough that on its own, I think there are some kinds of builds that would consider taking Sentinel, even if they're not using polearms. It's not going to be like, they're not going to be anywhere close to like amazing, spectacular, game-changing kind of builds, I don't think.
Yeah, where I could see it letting me down is I've got this picture in my head where, oh yeah, you're not getting away from me, buddy. But then, like, they never try to, so it doesn't matter anyway.
That's a lot of the problem with this, right? Is if you're just a bog standard fighter at 5th level, and you took this at 4th, and all you're doing is you're making 2 attack rolls, and it really doesn't matter at that point even what subclass you are, because fighters at a base level don't have a lot of things to make yourself so scary that things want to get away from you. At that point, you can just be on top of it and have a Sentinel and nothing will ever happen, especially if you don't have allies near you, right? Like if you're the only frontline character in the party, or like with a monk, and you're taking most of the damage and hits anyway, this doesn't really have text. This doesn't do anything useful for you, because when you engage things, they're not going to try and leave most of the time. No, they're just going to fight you to death because they're angry undead monsters or demons or, you know, some other kinds of mindless, angry enemies, which are becoming more and more popular, right? Like people love running big, dumb, evil monsters for the sake of big, dumb, evil monsters, and you don't have to really worry about, does this have children, whenever you cut the demon's head off. So
I'm always worried about that.
Sure. In all of those cases, right, Sentinel, it doesn't do anything in those windows. You have to find ways to get things to want to escape you, and that's where I'm like, okay, so what is the next step to get to that point? How do we take this of, if you're taking Sentinel, you need a little bit extra on your sheet to really make it worth taking. What are those extra things?
All right, before you move on, I want to ask, attacks of opportunity, does a forced movement provoke those?
I have it pulled up because I figured it would matter. So the opportunity attacks, you can make an opportunity attack when a hostile creature that you can see moves out of your reach. To make an opportunity attack, you use your reaction to make one melee attack against the provoking creature. The attack occurs right before the creature leaves your reach, which does mean for the case of the 0 speed, it does stay next to you. It doesn't get to move 5 feet and then it takes the damage. It doesn't move at all and it takes the damage. It also goes on to say, you don't provoke attacks opportunity when you teleport or when someone or something moves you without using your movement, which is very specific wording, but basically it means if you are moved without using your movement by another force, that won't trigger attack opportunity. This does mean if you move yourself and it doesn't constitute using your movement, it still can provoke attacks of opportunity. Hypothetically, that's a very narrow niche use case, but it can happen. So, you know, the more you know.
All right. So the difference would be between like a telekinesis thing where they just shove you over 5 feet. That doesn't count.
Correct.
But something like a fear effect where you make them run away, they are using their own movement.
When someone or something moves you without using your movement, action, or reaction, I would say the answer is yes, but I am not positive. I think the answer is no on Twitter. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking it up right now, just, you know, buying time, saying my words out loud. If you're using your movement or a creature is using your movement, it qualifies for attack of opportunity. Okay, great. So yes, if you fear a bunch of things and they're within melee range of you, you do get the attack of opportunity against them.
Okay, well, that's something worth noting.
Yes. That is from Reddit, from a 2-second Google search. So take that ruling with a grain of salt. I imagine it's kind of complicated. So
I think there are, like, aren't there a couple spell descriptions that specifically state, you get, this movement, you still get attacks of opportunity against them if they move.
Yeah, specifically Compulsion mentions it. Compulsion says, but Compulsion moves them. They don't use their movement, so that's also distinctly different, right? Because it has things instantaneously move as much as its movement as possible in that direction. Oh no, it does say on its next turn.
Yeah. They're using their own movement. You're not pushing them around with the wind or anything.
Yeah, I'm not. It can take its action before it moves. I'm not entirely sure. A target isn't compelled to move, but it will provoke attacks of opportunity if moved in the designated direction. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay, tentative ruling. If you are forced to move by an effect, but that move uses your movement, it triggers an attack of opportunity. Otherwise, it does not.
That's what I thought.
So, yes, if you teleport somebody away, if you shove somebody, if you do something that makes a creature, that moves a creature, it doesn't provoke it. If you make the creature move, like spend its movement on its turn, it counts.
Yeah, if you compel them to somehow.
Yes.
All right.
And
Got
again,
that cleared up.
Check Twitter, just in case.
Yes. Not totally not cleared up, but as much as we're going to do so on this video.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, if you can make the creatures want to move away from you, this is a whole lot better. If they're not trying to do that anyway, then this is not so hot. So,
and I really think like you really need creatures to want to move away from you. Like if you can't guarantee that you're getting something out of Sentinel every fight, I don't want it on my character sheet as a feat specifically. So like that's where this is gonna get a little bit tricky. How many times do you think you need to use this for it to be justified taking it? right? Like on an adventuring day, you have 2 encounters. How many rounds would you want Sentinel to do something for it to justify a spot on your sheet?
I don't know.
If you take no reactions, obviously it's bad, right? It's awful if you're not making tax opportunity. Are you happy with 1 Sentinel granted attack opportunity for a feat? I'm not.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's if it comes down to this or Keen Mind, I'll take this.
Fortunately, there are a large amount of options that are not this or Keen Mind that are somewhere in between.
All right, so let's get into it with Polearm Master.
Okay. So with Polearm Master, the build setup gives you a glaive or a halberd or a pike or whatever. And your objective is to have things run at you and you stabbing at them. There are 2 kind of different fronts you can do with this, right? A lot of the time what you're going to have happen is something's going to engage you, you're going to stab it. Something else is going to engage you, and then you're no longer have like a great way to do the Polearm Master thing without moving or disengaging or anything like that. That makes it really beneficial to have cheap ways to do either bonus action disengages or just take attacks opportunity to move back yourself, just so you can get other things, keep pushing them back so things keep having to advance into you and get stabbed and drop their speed to 0. You'll net mitigate more damage that way because less creatures are going to be making multiple attacks against you most of the time, but you get this cool little play pattern where you're just always cutting backwards and stabbing a whole lot. You do also on those builds, you're going to want to have things like thrown weapons so that you can make ranged attack rolls as they're advancing and you're not wasting turns just waiting for them, because you do need them to move into you. You can't take proaction with this, proactive movement with this. You can't be like, I engage them with my glaive. That's no good unless you can get other things to come on top of you from that point, right? So there are still asterisks with the Polearm Master stuff, but it is definitely, with just those 2 combined, you do have a build that will be regularly usable in most encounters. I think that's pretty interesting. That's pretty fun.
But whatever you're doing with this, you only get the 1 reaction. So you're only yeah. So if there's got to be like this sweet spot. Like it might not be great against like a single big guy, but I guess maybe it would, depending
Against
on how
one
that
big
works.
thing, it's great because you just
Yeah,
poke it, and you're just like
Right,
stepping
right.
back as it does so. It just needs to not have reach. If it has reach, this doesn't work. So keep that in
But
mind.
but on the flip side, if you're swarmed by a bunch of tiny things, then this
You'll impale
probably
one of them.
yeah, that's not going to do much at all. So yeah, I'd say it's got a useful range for depending on the encounter. Like maybe there's a big guy and a swarm of little things. The only one you really care about keeping on ice is the big one, and that could work well. Something we didn't talk about in Rune Night, and it was brought up in the comments, becoming like large or huge or whatever, that increases your threat range.
The reach one does. Being
Right.
large does not
Oh,
increase your
no.
threat range to 5, but you do get longer
Right.
reach as you gain levels.
Yeah.
The rules around being large are not well defined. They're in the monster manual because they're supposed to be for monsters. So how they work for players is a little bit nebulous even to this day. They probably are official rulings out there on Twitter, but like, yes, hypothetically, you can get extra reach from an easy place to put it is like a bugbear. Bugbears as a species have a larger reach. They get +5 to it, I believe, is how that works. So if you want to play a Polearm Master, being a bugbear is really, really, really beneficial. Like being a sentinel with a glaive and as a bugbear, you cover a huge amount of space. Like a 15-foot radius means you can lock down a corridor so nothing's getting to your back, or at least the first thing isn't getting to your back line, and you can like impose yourself in the way of it to draw a lot of fire in a pretty fun fashion that I'm a big fan of. Another synergistic.
There's just even in a wide open space, locking down that much area means creatures have to choose between running straight past you and blowing some movement trying to get around your aura of influence.
Yeah. This also, if you want to go all in on this, the Cavalier 18th level feature Vigilant Defender gives you any number of reactions for attacks of opportunity, which is incredible because you just like it's really funny.
What level is that?
18. So you need to be committed.
Right.
You need to be in there for the long haul. But if you get to 18th level, anything that runs within 10 feet of you, you stop it in its tracks and stab it. And that's pretty spicy. I mean, you just hit them all. If you don't hit them all, their speed isn't reduced, and then they get on top of you anyway and still beat the crap out of you. That is like, we're taking it for granted that you have to hit the thing. But most of the time characters are pretty good at hitting things, so it's going to happen more often than not. So
if
that's a fun build option.
If you've got a swarm of things that you can't easily hit, you're in some trouble.
Yeah, I agree. There's like, again, you can also consider pairing this with little areas of damaging area of effect spells. So like Eldritch Knight, you could consider taking things like Flaming Sphere. You could consider taking Spike Growth and stuff on Rangers if you wanted to do a Polar Master Ranger kind of build. I think Oath of Ancients Paladin, you could probably do some like, your objective is to lock down the space. So you get like the Snaring stuff and the Ensnaring Strike, and you're like, okay, that thing's not moving, that thing's not moving. I Ensnaring Strike that on my turn, so it's not moving, and everything is in currently, I don't know, like a maelstrom or something, right? Getting stuck towards the center, taking more damage, and they're not able to move, and you have a lot of synergy with the other party members and keeping them in place. This, I think Sentinel shines really brightly whenever you're able to pair the area damage stuff with it, because it does lock something in place for a round at least, and all you have to do is hit it with an attack of opportunity, and you can make that attack of opportunity relatively easily happen on your, like, by forcing things to move towards you. All of that kind of lines up to set yourself up for success. And by using things like fears to guarantee the to help get them, you can even like cause fear as a Eldritch Knight or Arcane Trickster, and not Arcane Trickster, but like, you know, some of the Gish kind of style builds, you can force it yourself, which is pretty neat. So like, there are ways that you can sort of mix and match finding features to turn these attack opportunity on more often. And I think that makes it a really complex and fun and interesting feature to build with. I'm a huge fan of Sentinel.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, well, you got a rating?
I think it probably deserves a 4. I think that the potential here, an extra attack of opportunity, is really, really good, and the way it provokes it is a way that gives you a consistent reaction at least most encounters, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Polar Master. That you don't get, this doesn't give you the enter your reach one. This gives you right. It just gets locked down when you attack of opportunity things. Okay, so this probably gets a 3 because it's a lot less consistent at getting the attack of opportunity. This paired with Polar Master is where, like, you know, it enters your reach, you stab it, that's really good. But this you stabbing it part when it enters your reach comes from Polar Master, not Sentinel. Sentinel just means it doesn't get to move. So on its own, Sentinel has like a little bit of issues. You still can do the cool setup stuff. You still have the fun build around potential. You still have ways to try and get creatures to provoke attacks of opportunity from you in interesting ways. Not having the Polearm Master half of it does make quite a bit worse. With the Polearm half of it, it does get a lot better though. So, you know, you probably want to build that direction if you're taking Sentinel. You cannot and go in on like fears and stuff, and that could be a fun build direction if you want to go for a challenge.
All right. All right, here's my thoughts on it. All right, I'm a new player. Green, right out of the womb. And I'm looking at all the feats, my feat options. I skim Sentinel, opportunity attack, speed becomes 0. That doesn't seem very exciting. Even if they take the disengage, I don't even know what that is. You make a melee weapon attack. This looks boring.
Sure.
There are other feats that are more direct. They have like big splashy effect. Ooh, that's exciting for me. That's what I want to try. I think people who take Sentinel do it with a plan in mind. You say Sentinel by itself without Polearm Master. I don't think that's happening. There's
yeah, I think you're right.
I think people who are taking this feat know exactly what it does, know how to use it, know what to combine it with, know what other effects they're going to have on their character or their friends, and they're going to be taking advantage of this. And that's all going into my consideration when I'm giving this a 4. I think there's going to be some people that take it and get a little disappointed that, you know, nobody's trying to leave their sphere of influence, but I think I think this is something that if you take it, you know why you're taking it, and it's going to work out well for you. I
still think like the powerful half of what's happening in the Polearm Master combo is the Polearm Master part. Like that's still where the bulk of the power is. So, you know, that's what I'll say to that. That being said, I'd love to hear in the comments people that have builds that don't use Polearm Master that are engaging Sentinel. I'd love to see them. Like Great Web Master versions of it could be fun. I'd love to see Gish options that are like bonus action casting things like meta magic to go for, you know, fear effects to provoke your own attacks opportunity. That all sounds pretty sweet to me. So yeah, hit me with what you've got in the comments. I'd love to see other builds that you Sentinel that specifically don't have Polearm Master staple to it.
Yeah, and I'd like to see other ones with Polearm Master too, just so we can have more comments.
Sure.
Don't want to limit you guys. Let us know what you think. All right, that was Sentinel. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for watching. Like and subscribe and all that, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.